Good morning, students. I am Prabhakar once again for your subject Social Security Legislation. Students, in my previous session, we have already covered major portion of Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952, and this would be the last segment of PF Act 1952, because we are going to start from section 16 and we will end up with, to section 22, because I have already told you in my previous session that under this section only 22 sections are there, and along with that we have to study 4 schedules also. तो मैंने आपको स्टूडेंट शेड्यूल्स भी बता दिया है. इन शेड्यूल 1 we talk about manufacturing processes and manufacturing firms which would be considered under this act. Then schedule 2 talks about the scheme, that is provident fund scheme, and schedule 3 talks about pension scheme, as well as schedule 4 talks about employees deposit linked insurance scheme. So students, today we will start from section 16. Section 16 talks about act not to apply to certain establishments. It means whether this act, we have already studied the applicability of this act, but under this act which are the establishment where this act cannot be applied, इसके बारे में भी बताया गया है, जो कि हम लोग 16 के क्लॉज 1A में देखते हैं कि टू एनी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट रजिस्टर्ड अंडर द कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज एक्ट 1912 or under any other law for the time being in force in any state relating to cooperative societies employing less than 50 persons and working without the aid of power. यहाँ पे बताया गया है कि any establishment which comes under cooperative societies act, मतलब cooperative society के through establishment है, और where 50% less than 50 persons are employed and the work is executed without the aid of the power, मतलब वहाँ बिजली का without the aid of the power काम होता है, तो वैसे केस में वहाँ पे ये एक्ट अप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा. देन clause B talks about to any other establishment belonging to or under the control of central government or a state government and whose employees are entitled to the benefit of contributory provident fund or old age pension in accordance with any scheme or rule framed by the central government or the state government governing such benefits. It means वैसे establishment में भी ये applicable नहीं होगा जहाँ पे already जो है इसी के पैरेलल में कोई benefit schemes, अच्छी scheme जो है favorable scheme employees के लिए already establishment में अगर चल रही है, तो वैसे केस में यहाँ पे ये applicable नहीं होगा. तो these are the certain limitations of this act. Then now section sections 17 we will see students just now. Power to exempt में स्टूडेंट्स पावर टू एग्जेम्प्ट हम लोग पहले के भी एक्ट्स में वी हैव ऑलरेडी स्टडीड अबाउट दिस. मीन्स पावर टू एग्जेम्प्ट मीन्स अप्रोप्रिएट गवर्नमेंट इफ इट थिंक्स that this establishment has got some other favorable scheme related to these acts, and these provisions are already being implemented by that establishment, and if the appropriate government thinks fit, then in that case it may possible कि appropriate government may exempt that establishment from applying these provisions of PF and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. ये exemptions मिल सकता है. Then exemptions can be given to certain employees or class of employees when the appropriate authority feels that these employees or class of employees are having favorable schemes compared to this act, and that scheme also means fulfills the need of the employees in the comparison of this act. Then in that case they may give exemption to those employees or class of employees for applying this act of PF and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. So with this we can understand कि यहाँ पे एग्जम्पशंस की भी बात करी गई है. देन 17A टॉक्स अबाउट ट्रांसफ़र ऑफ अकाउंट्स की भी बात इसमें हुई है. ट्रांसफ़र ऑफ अकाउंट मीन्स व्हेन एनी एम्प्लॉई गेट्स रिलीज फ्रॉम एनी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट and join some other establishment, what with the provision of transfer of accounts of PF pension that has been declared and explained through this transfer of account 17A. Then we have section 18 also, protection of action taken in good faith. We have already studied this section many a times in previous acts. Means whatever authority is involved in implementing all the provisions of this act cannot be sued just because he has done something in implementing these provisions in good faith. मतलब ये है कि अगर उसने good faith में इस एक्ट के प्रोविजंस को अप्लाई करने के लिए जो भी एक्शंस ले रहा है, तो वैसे केस में उसको लॉ प्रोटेक्ट करती है उन पोजीशंस को और उन प्रोफाइल्स को. देन सेक्शन 19 टॉक्स अबाउट डेलीगेशन ऑफ पावर्स. डेलीगेशन ऑफ पावर्स में यहाँ पे जो है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट जो है उसको पावर का डेलीगेशन करने का अधिकार है, एंड थ्रू दैट दे ट्राई टू गेट कमांड ओवर द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो. देन Section 20 here talks about power of central government to give directions. It is very much clear that central government has got the power to give direction to the state government and concerned authority also. यहाँ पे central board को जो है administrative scope में जो है instructions जो है central government ही देती है. Then section 21 talks about power to make rules. The central government may by notification in the official gazette make rules to carry out the provision of this act. यहाँ पे central government को फिर से पावर दिया गया है. एंड लास्ट सेक्शन इज power to remove difficulties. Student, through this it can be understood that even in that section also central government has been given the power to remove difficulties whichever comes in executing this act, and if any difficulty arises then it is the central government who will give all the directions to the concerned authority to remove the difficulties. So this way we have completed almost all the sections of Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. In my initial talk also I have already explained the contribution part related to this PF and the salary limitation of 15,000. Earlier it was 6,500, then later on it became 15,000 rupees, and we talked about different ways to contribute in PF. We talked about VPF also, Voluntary Provident Fund, और जो एम्प्लॉयर और एम्प्लॉय का कंट्रीब्यूशन है 12% का, 10% का कंट्रीब्यूशंस किस केस में कंट्रीब्यूशंस होते हैं, या फिर 8% जो 2018-19 के प्रोविजंस में आया वर्किंग वुमेन प्रोफेशनल को इनिशियल 3 इयर्स के लिए 8% ही कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए अलाउ किया गया ताकि उनका टेक होम सैलरी ज़्यादा हो. तो दीज आर द सर्टेन स्पेसिफिकेशंस दैट आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू इन थ्रू दिस वीडियो. So thank you so much students. In my next session I will discuss Employees Compensation Act 1923, जिसको हम लोग वर्कमैन कॉम्पनसेशन एक्ट भी के नाम से जानते हैं. Thank you so much students.